You are listening to Boise Fire Mission Strong podcast, where we share stories from the field, public safety knowledge, and give an inside look into the Boise Fire Department. Here's your host, Fire Chief Mark Niemeyer.
Hello, Boise, and welcome to episode 2 of the Boise Fire Department Mission Strong podcast. Today we're at Firehouse 5, and we're here to interview two of our great leaders, Captain Rob Christensen from Ladder 5 and Captain Chris Campbell from Engine 5. Welcome.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
So really informal, right? This is a way that we can communicate to our community about what we do, why we do it. So let's start a little bit. We got this beautiful ladder right behind us. So Rob, we'll start with you first. Talk about the ladder truck, why this thing's unique, why this piece of apparatus is unique in the mission we serve downtown.
Right, so some basic needs is our battlefield down here in the heart of Boise has a lot of high rises. So this is a 107-foot ladder. It gives us opportunity to make the majority of the roofs around here that are 8 stories or less. And it creates that as a unique opportunity for us in terms of over an engine. A lot of people don't know the difference between a fire engine and a ladder, or a fire engine and a fire truck, is that fire engines carry water and ladders don't. We carry the stuff that will get us to where we need to get and help people out of situations. And that's kind of some of the particulars, and we'll elaborate a little bit more on that later. But yeah, this is a wonderful piece. Yep, it's a giant toolbox. We've got 2 drivers. Chief, as you know, we signed you off early on when I came over here. We went out to the parking lot, and then we took you down Capitol. It's a unique position sitting in the back. As you know, it's very quiet. All the noise from the tractors up front, and steering can be a little bit challenging, especially backing. Yeah, you want to go the opposite way. So anyway,
So Farm Kid picked it up pretty well, though, don't you think?
You're the first. We're like, we're going to test him. So after we did the park tour, we're like, we're going out on Capitol. Now, it was pretty mellow traffic that day, but no, you did as good as anybody could be, and I'm not trying to schmooze you.
Not as easy as it looks, though.
No.
It's a great piece of apparatus. It is the only tillered apparatus that we have in the city.
Yeah.
Right? Our other aerial devices are non-tillered. So really a unique piece of apparatus that, talk about why this does so well downtown, right? It's amazing how tight this thing turns.
I understand it's the only one in the state right now.
Right now,
Only
yeah.
one, yes.
Yeah, and as Chris can attest, being down here for, I don't know how many years you've been down here, maybe 900.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tight spots, and you take the length of this, which is much longer than a traditional fire engine, and we're able to get in and out of stuff that will just blow your mind.
Yeah.
And I'm always amazed when I have the drivers there, and generally both of them are very experienced in what they're doing in the front and back. They communicate, and I'm like, we're stuck. We're going to be here for days. We got to have people move cars, or somebody needs to move the corner of this building. And sure enough, they pull it off without any trouble at all. So it gives us that tool to get into those tight areas and to get there as quick as possible to help whoever is called 911 and ask for our service. So
Yeah.
it's a great advantage to have this piece down here.
Great toolbox.
Yeah, we're wonderful.
Now let's go to Engine 5. And Chris, you've been down here a long time.
I have
22
years.
years.
Yeah.
Down here at the busiest firehouse in the state.
That's
Fire
rumor.
Station
So
5. That's rumor.
that's rumor.
Certainly some others
That's
that
true. So,
I
but,
talked to the CUNA chief not too long ago. Certainly their call volume's rising, as is everybody's. But a lot of calls down here. Let's talk about Engine 5, the workhorse of the fire department.
Engine 5 is Engine 5 in itself is also a special apparatus because it's the smallest pumper in the city. We had it specially built for that reason because of the tight areas we work in down here, the crowds we work in. The part of town, this is the original part of the city, so getting in and around there is challenging to do. So we don't have a front intake on it. We have a side mount pump on it. It's 3 to 4 feet shorter than the average fire engine in the city.
Yep.
So it's a great piece of apparatus. In fact, in my mind, it's probably the best rig, with the exception of a few things here and there I'd change. It's easily the best rig I've worked on in my career here in Boise. And Engine 5 is for itself. We are kind of the workhorse of the city. We definitely get tested down here. Summertime down here for not only engine and the ladder, but 25 runs a shift is not uncommon. And then running 40 to 50 runs a tour. Yeah, it's getting that way normally.
Yeah.
And then now we're in the wintertime, which used to be the slow time of the year. And if we have a day without 10 runs, it's a slow day.
Right.
So we're running and gunning nonstop all the time. So it's fun. It's good. It's something I always want to do. I've always wanted to work in busy houses and busy places. And so it's kind of my dream come true, really.
So let's talk about that. One of the things that's amazed me about you way back in the day when I was with Ada County and you were down here. So you mentioned how long you've been down here.
Yeah.
And certainly as we get older, it's a little tougher to do the job, but you have always loved working downtown.
I have.
Talk about that.
It's always what I wanted to do. And once I got here, I didn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I was real fortunate. I was super lucky. I got the hosman job down here after being on for like 3 years. And I stayed a hosman for about 10 years down here. And then I was a driver down here for a couple of years. And now I've been a captain down here for, a long time. Yeah, a while.
Few days.
So yeah, a few days. Yep, a few days here and there. So yeah, in a lot of ways, I'm really blessed. I'm blessed for what I get to do. I'm blessed for the fact that I've never had another job other than being a fireman. And I'm super blessed to be able to work in the station I want to work in because a lot of folks don't get that opportunity.
Right.
I'm spoiled.
And you certainly have seniority. You could go anywhere you want.
I could,
You stay here.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would never leave here. In fact, I had the chance to take Rob's spot.
Yep.
Thought about it for about a day. I actually took it, and then I changed my mind within a day.
You changed your mind because your firefighter stopped talking to you.
Yeah, they got mad at me. They were upset with me. So, no, I literally, it was just kind of my own adrenaline junkie BS that I deal with. And it was like, no, I got to stay busy. So,
And Rob, you've been here because you came from Station 16.
Yeah, been here just over a year.
A little over a year ago.
Yep.
Biggest difference coming from Station 16, which is over in the Garden City area,
Right.
downtown here. What's the biggest
Right.
difference you've seen?
Bigger area to respond to out of 16s. We had a brush rig, we had a water tender, we were heavy with wildland urban interface. We had some long responses over the hill to Hidden Springs. We'd run generally second or third into Eagle whenever they had a fire. So there's a lot of opportunity for auto aid and training with our brothers and sisters out at Eagle Fire, which do an outstanding job. And then coming here, from 16th, and then we didn't have the high rise. We had some industrial, and we had the poor. Lots of low income, old low income. I'm not talking new structures with low income. I'm talking trailers from like the 50s that were kept together with duct tape and tarps for their roof line and whatnot. So there was a lot of diversity there, and then going to $1 million homes on the river as well. Yep. And here it hasn't changed in terms of diversity. Obviously, we're housed here, very close to sanctuary, city lights, and a lot of the affordable housing locations here, and those are our clientele, and we can go on those and those members of the public, and also we can go to Harrison Boulevard, right? Sure. Within a given day, hit all kinds of different people of different stature. So
super diverse district down
here.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of the fire department, right? Is we don't ask your socioeconomic income, class you raised, none of that. When you call, we go and we treat you no differently than we treated the last call, regardless of income and all that. So, Chris, you've been down here so long. Talk a little bit about the variance in calls down here in the downtown core, is maybe somewhere out that's out on the west or out south.
So we get kind of the same stuff as the west side somewhat. Once we cross that hill, go up into the neighborhoods up above that are kind of our fringe districts up there. So we deal with the more middle class, more upper class folks, kind of the same as some of the districts on the outside of cities and outskirts and neighborhoods. But then we do have the core down here, the lower income, lower housing areas, and that's our bread and butter. That's who we deal with most of the time. And like I say, we ran about 5,500 runs out of the station here last year, and I think probably half those were 2 to 3 blocks away from the station.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just we try to deal with them the exact same way all the time.
Right.
Every once in a while, we do have to change our tones a little bit here and there to get work done, but for the most part, people are people, and
Right.
they're the same no matter who you're dealing with. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, the mission doesn't know those differences.
No,
right?
no,
Yeah.
it doesn't know the difference at all.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
We'll talk a little bit about as a tandem crew here. So typically on a residential fire, a commercial fire, the engine and the ladder are going to roll out simultaneously, and you guys are going to work together once you get there. Maybe talk a little bit about that. How does that integration work? Let our listeners know, how does a ladder company and an engine company integrate on the scene of a fire?
It's almost seamless, especially in a house like this where we're so close together. We work together so often, all the time. Before Rob came down here, Mark Luton was the captain down here, and honestly, when we pulled up on fires, Mark and I never said a word to each other.
Yep.
We knew what the assignments were. We knew exactly what we were doing. I gave the size up on the fires and stuff, and the crews just knew what to do.
Even though there's a ton of coordination going on.
Yeah.
No words,
Tons
but
of coordination, no words.
coordination.
And Rob's pretty much the same way. I don't really have to say a whole lot to him, whether I want him to do a primary search or vent, or like this afternoon, we had just a basic automatic alarm, and there was go to the Delta side, check the back of the building, and Rob's crew knew exactly what to do, went right there and figured out what the problem was in 2 seconds.
Perfect.
And my crew didn't even have to do anything for the most part. So, yeah, it's real, to me, it's a real seamless, close, tight operations.
So let's talk a little bit. You show up, you got a house on fire, let's say. You're the engine, you're going to show up first. You're going to do a quick walk around. You're going to get an idea of what's going on, and then you're going to get to work. You're probably going to do fire attack.
Yep, we're going to be going in the fire attack mode, stretching lines, and that's our
fire.
job. So
And then, Rob, you guys come in right behind them as the ladder company. What are some typical things you could get assigned to do right
So generally, and I say bread and butter type of an incident, Chris will generally have us do a primary search, looking for
primary
victims.
search for our listeners, looking for
Yep,
victims.
yep.
Right?
So in a small enough house, we'll split our crew. We'll have the 2 drivers. They'll split off and be ladder 5B. Myself and the 4-person that sits behind me will be ladder 5A. So if there's a rescue, because it takes a tillerman a little bit time to get down, me and my forward guy, we're off and running. We're going in and we're doing a quick primary search. And chances are, if he's calling for a primary, that means there's limited to no visibility. So we're on a wall. We're either going to go right or left based on where we see the reports and what the floor plan looks like of that house from the exterior. We'll get to work on that. And at that time, the other piece of that is ventilation, right? Things get better. We can't see anything. We know where the fire is at. If we can do a coordinated attack where Chris's firefighter can put water on that fire and get it knocked down, and we break windows around there, or we cut a hole in the roof and punch the ceiling to get that lift, things get better not only for us, but those people that are in that house that may have found an opportunity of livable space in a bathroom or what have you, or even their bedroom where they can close their door. And that's kind of how we roll. Now, we can always switch up if Chris is like, hey, I need help. This is a Biltmore. It's not a huge mansion. This is like 7 apartments, and it's got a center hallway down the middle. 4 turns will finally get us there. I need help moving hose. When you have 9 turns to get to the hose, to get to the seat of the fire, you need help. So there's always those audibles.
That is one of the huge advantages of having the ladder down here with us, because we're short staffed. We run with 3.
Yep.
We don't have the 4th person to help pull hose and help move things along. So sometimes you got to steal people from other companies. Right. And having these guys right behind us is a huge, huge advantage.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of the biggest learning points for me, I've been an engine captain since, you 06, 07, I was 07. And you think you have this mindset, right? It's no different than being an offensive coordinator for a football team or being a defensive coordinator.
Sure.
And so my mind as an engine company is to show up, do those things I need to do, and then tell what I need from other arriving units.
Right.
And we talked about Captain Luton, retired Captain Luton. He said, hey, one thing you need to understand is this is a support vehicle. You're not in charge of telling people what to do and how to do it and where to. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, those days are gone.
So
So I show up and I'm like, what can we do for you?
Yeah.
So it kind of takes the fun
But
out
a
of
very
it.
important support vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
huge
It's
important.
full of tools. Holy cow. Yeah.
100% count on these guys all the time.
Well, I think what the public doesn't understand, just listen to you guys talk about ventilation, fire attack, and that coordinated ventilation. There's a science to what you all do.
Yeah.
Right? I think some people just think we show up and and just we do
Everything's
get
a
to work.
calculated science based
But there
upon
is
the
science.
weather conditions, wind conditions,
Right.
the layout of the house, the age of the house,
Right.
how the house was built, or the buildings downtown, how they were built, what your occupancy is, what time
Yeah.
of day it is, what time of night it is. Everything's based
Mm-hmm.
upon those.
When you guys
factors.
open up a roof, when they're not ready, that could have negative effects, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that coordination of what
Yep.
you all do is
Exactly.
impressive.
Exactly.
Very impressive.
Yep.
Now, people ask me about the fire department. I often say we're very simple in our mission. Right? Our mission is to help people. We can all agree to that. But delivering that mission is incredibly complex.
Yep.
It looks seamless on TV, but it's incredibly complex.
It's very
to make
quick,
happen. And
quick on the feet, quick fast
Absolutely.
thinking,
Yeah.
trying to deduce what you need to do, what your next thoughts are, how to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it
Anticipate.
right there.
Which is probably
Yeah.
why we all love this, right? No 2 days are the same.
Yep.
Right.
They never are.
No
Yeah.
minutes the same.
No
I like
minutes
to.
the
I always
same.
tell people when they're younger that the biggest thing I love about this job is I have no idea what's going to happen 15 seconds from now.
Right.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
Could be challenged. Any challenge you could ever imagine, it could be taken care of, and
Yeah.
that to me is the best thing on earth.
Which is fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about you two. I know, Rob, you have created a passion over the years for mental health, right? So beyond just Ladder 5 captain, you have a passion for the firefighters' mental health and well-being. Talk a little bit about that and what got you there to say this is also my interest?
Yeah, and going beyond just the firefighters, we're talking their spouses and their families. So I grew up as a second-generation firefighter, right? My dad, who worked in Eagle as a captain, and my brother also worked down here. He was on the ladder for years and then retired as a captain out of nines. I think for me, just being so overwhelmed with what we see on the front line, right? Whether it's the victim, the deceased, or the family member who just lost everything in terms of losing their loved one, and seeing the grief. And it's like, how do we deal with that? Well, you know as well as I do. You rub some dirt in it and you go home and carry on a normal day and have a great day, right? Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
Well, that to me wasn't working, man, and it didn't work for a lot of people. And you saw, people were either doing, very hazardous stuff to themselves, whether it was extreme, death-defying stuff on their days off, or they were drinking or boozing or what have you, right? Divorce rate was through the roof. And I thought, man, what I've got going here is something. I did some research and found out I was dealing with depression and anxiety. I said, if I'm dealing with that,
Right.
I know so-and-so, they saw the same stuff, and they've lost interest in what they used to do, and they've changed. So over time, I'm like, this thing needs to get fixed. And I remember I talk about going to my first counseling appointment. That my captain, Jim Peterson, who's since passed, he's like, Rob, you need to go talk to somebody. So anyway, I said, I'm going to make an appointment. I'm not going to tell any firefighters though, right? Because we're the tough ones. We show up and nothing bothers us. It's like, I need to do something, otherwise I'd have to get out of the job.
Yep.
So anyway, I drove to the counseling office and parked like 4 blocks away after I made certain there was no fire stickers or cars I noticed in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Army crawled through the front door with, through the bushes and got there. And what I learned was that it wasn't what I was making up in my life, in my mind, I guess. It was just somebody sitting down saying, hey, this is bothering you. Well, this is the science behind that. Let's look at it from this view. And let's talk about it. It's like, oh, I felt better. So after that, I was hooked. I still go once a month and get an opportunity to go talk to other fire departments and members within the job and just say, if you don't have the number one tool that we've got, and that's our brain, to get out and, like Captain Campbell talked about, making decisions in the split moment without having stuff run in the back of your mind or being fogged because you're so overwhelmed with stress and anxiety you didn't sleep the night before. That stuff doesn't work.
Right.
You can have $1 million ladder truck, but you
this.
can have 40
You gotta have
people on scene. But if you're not there to be clear and able to read and react and deploy the troops, you're not doing your job.
Well, and what a change we've gotten to see over the course of our career, especially when it comes to mental health. I was just down at the Capitol this morning. And as you know, we had a PTSI bill that passed a few years ago, right? And it's up for the sunset.
Yes.
And it has absolute great support at the State House to continue that. And the telltale is we had 67 people in that short window of time since that bill was passed file a claim saying I'm hurting, right? That's a win in my book. We know it's gonna get worse as we grow and evolve, but having those things that our firefighters can tap into is critical.
And hopefully, like we're doing here at Boise, is teaching people these skill sets that I didn't learn until I was 30. What's emotions? What's emotional regulation?
We rub dirt on it.
Yeah.
You're
What's
spot on.
emotional
We're talking about
regulations? What's proper emotional processing, right? For my own health. It's like, oh, well, that would have fixed a lot of junk that was stacked up for years. So
Yeah.
anyway, we're doing a lot of great things here at this department. It's a joy and a blessing to work.
And then Chris, I got to ask,
On the
one of the
edge.
things with you, Chris, is your passion for history. It's something that I noticed early on, and when I got here, you gave a great class on just history of the fire service. I asked Bob Ruth the same question. What got you into the history?
Bob got me into history. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually worked at Station 8. Bob was not my captain, but was one of the other captains there.
Right.
It was all during the time of the centennial celebration going on.
Yes.
And Bob asked for help, and I just asked questions, a lot of it, and dove into stuff, started reading a lot of stuff about Boise and Boise Fire Department. And it kind of just, it was fun for me to do. I liked it, and it kind of grew on me. And the fact is, we didn't have a great real history collection of anything for the most part. So it was just, it seemed like a good idea for me to do it. And I've kind of just kept on doing it here and there. So yeah, and I enjoy it. That's the biggest thing is I enjoy it. I think history is important for everyone to know where we came from and everybody to know what we have done over the years and what's worked and what's failed and, you know, what's happened here in the department. That to me is extremely important. And yeah, I started teaching the history classes to the recruits. Geez, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe. I don't even remember now. And yeah, it's fun for me to do. And yeah, I kind of just, it's just one of those things I like doing. Kind of calms me down, keeps me mellow. Yeah. So, yeah.
But it's important. It's important for our new firefighters to understand where we came from.
Yep.
It's important for our community to know.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I want to keep doing even after I retire.
Yeah.
I want to keep doing the history stuff for the fire department.
Someday we'll
there, so,
hopefully have a museum. You know, Denver. I'm sure you've been to the Denver Fire Museum.
That's awesome.
And it's so awesome. It's so cool.
Museum.
And it's all retired firefighters that staff that museum, and it's just to listen to their stories and the history of Denver fires. Hopefully someday we have that here.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Look forward to that. Yeah.
Well, he could also get a job being a history guide for the city.
I could.
22 years down here.
Around.
He knows where every fire panel is, but we'll go in something. He goes, oh yeah, this used to be an old gun range.
Yeah.
Just over here 2 blocks away in the basement. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, this is. So it's always fun going through these buildings and walking
Well, and
through.
the fact that we had a
'cause I always
city
learn
under our
something.
city, right? I mean, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people
much
don't
like
know
Seattle
that.
has a city under a city.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that history.
I hate to say it, I forgot more than I've learned. So
Well,
yeah,
that's great.
He's
Right?
got a good memory.
Well, I think I really appreciate you guys' time. This was great to get down to
Appreciate you.
Firehouse 5, talk to you guys about what you do down here, how we serve the community from this firehouse, and to give a little bit of idea of what an engine company does and what a ladder company does. And I think our public's going to enjoy this podcast.
yeah.
So I really
I
appreciate
hope
your time.
Thanks for coming down. I really enjoy it.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Boise, for tuning in. We hope you join us next month for another exciting episode of the Mission Strong podcast.